Listen to me carefully. The most dangerous woman on earth is not the one who has the most friends, the most followers, or the loudest voice. It is the woman who has learned to be alone and still stands tall. Because when a woman is alone, truly alone, and she hasn't lost her mind, it means God is doing something in her that the world cannot explain and hell cannot stop. You see, there is a difference between loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness is when you are by yourself and feel empty. But aloneness, when it is ordained by God, is sacred. It is strategic. It is surgical. God doesn't isolate you to punish you. He isolates you to purify you. When God wants to change a woman, he separates her, not because she is not loved, but because she is too loved by the wrong things. And before he blesses her, he must disconnect her. You cannot carry the noise of Egypt into the promised land. You cannot carry yesterday's soul ties into tomorrow's assignment. So when a woman finds herself alone, emotionally detached, no longer feeding the need to explain herself, justify her silence, or beg for attention, she is not broken. She is being built. Because emotional detachment is not bitterness. It's maturity. It's clarity. It is the evidence that God has removed the clutter from her spirit so he can deposit vision. Some of you are crying over friendships that faded. But God says, I had to remove them because they were interfering with my voice. You're grieving over relationships that felt right, but were never righteous. And now you're in a quiet season where no one understands you. That is by design. God never does deep work in crowded places. You think God has forgotten you, but what you call silence, he calls surgery. He is cutting, carving, molding, sharpening, because the next level requires a version of you that has no fear of solitude, no need for applause, and no dependence on external affirmation. See, when a woman detaches from emotional chaos, she begins to hear with clarity. Her spirit becomes sensitive. She discerns differently. She prays differently. She no longer reacts. She responds. Because detachment is not giving up, it is rising up. Some women are addicted to company, but God is raising you for command. And he will never send you to lead until he has taught you to be alone. Because leadership requires a backbone that doesn't bend just to feel love. You must be so secure in who God called you to be that you're not afraid of walking through the valley without a text message or a compliment. When God is doing his deepest work, he removes the scaffolding. No friends, no feedback, no fanfare. Why? Because if they support you during the process, they'll take credit for the outcome. So God does it in secret. He rewires you, renews you, reconstructs you. And when you come out, you will carry something that wasn't taught in conferences or universities. It was born in the dark when you were alone, but never abandoned. So don't rush this season. Don't fight it. Don't panic. Don't call what is sacred a curse. Because when a woman is alone, that's when God whispers secrets he cannot share in a crowd. That's when he gives strategy, strength, and sensitivity. He is making you untouchable, not by removing battles, but by increasing your capacity to face them without flinching. Aloneness is not emptiness. It is a divine cocoon. And when you emerge from it, you will not only be healed, you will be holy. You will not only be free, you will be fearless. Because God never wastes isolation. He uses it to turn women into weapons. When God isolates a woman, it is never by accident. It is intentional, calculated, and holy. Many confuse isolation with rejection, but they are not the same. Rejection is when man removes you. Isolation is when God sets you apart. When a woman finds herself cut off from familiar circles, stripped of the usual noise, and placed in a season where everything feels still and silent, she must understand this is not punishment. It is preparation. God is pulling her away, not to leave her empty, but to fill her with something new. He cannot do deep work in an environment cluttered with opinions, expectations, and distractions. So he moves her into a place where she has no one to depend on but him. It is in this quiet space that he begins to peel back the layers of her soul, healing what was hidden, addressing what was avoided, and stirring what has been sleeping. In this season, God removes counterfeit comforts. The phone stops ringing. The invitations stop coming. The support seems to disappear. But it is not because people have changed. It's because God is changing her. He is preparing her for a purpose that requires her to be complete without applause, content without company, and confident without validation. Her character is being forged in silence. Her discernment is being sharpened in solitude. Her strength is being rooted in the stillness. He may feel forgotten, but she is actually being focused. This is the season where God rewrites her identity, not based on who she was to others, but on who she is to him. It is sacred ground, this place of divine aloneness. And though it may feel like loss, it is the soil in which greatness is planted. God never begins a great work in public. He always starts in secret. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood. People assume it means a woman has become cold, distant, or unfeeling. But when God begins to detach a woman emotionally, it is not to harden her, it is to heal her. It is the sacred process of removing her from attachments that once fed her insecurities, distorted identity, and kept her dependent on what was never meant to sustain her. Emotional detachment is not the absence of love. It is the presence of clarity. It is the moment when a woman begins to see things as they truly are, not as she wished them to be. God disconnects her so she can finally reconnect with truth. There comes a point in every woman's journey where she must stop chasing peace through people. She must stop negotiating her worth through attention. When God pulls her heart away from unhealthy ties, he's reclaiming territory that belongs to him. Her emotional energy was once scattered, given to relationships that drained her, conversations that confused her, and expectations that broke her. But now, in this season of detachment, her heart is coming back to center, and that center is God. She begins to feel lighter, not because everything around her has changed, but because she no longer carries what was never hers to hold. She no longer internalizes rejection. She no longer entertains manipulation. She no longer depends on temporary affection to feel permanent value. This kind of detachment is not weakness. It is spiritual strength. It takes courage to release what once comforted you. It takes faith to walk away from what your emotions crave, but your spirit no longer needs. Through detachment, God is teaching her to trust him above her feelings, to anchor her identity in his voice, and to build her confidence on the unshakable truth of who she really is. When a woman is truly alone, God gains her full attention. It is in this sacred place of solitude that he begins to reveal what could not be heard in the noise of relationships, responsibilities, and routine. Revelation is not given in chaos, it is born in stillness. God removes the crowd so he can release clarity. He silences every other voice so his own voice can become loud within her spirit. The deeper the calling, the more intense the isolation, because revelation is weighty. And God will never entrust divine secrets to a distracted heart. The dimensions of insight that can only be accessed when a woman has been emptied of the opinions of others. As long as she is surrounded by noise, her vision remains blurred. But when she is stripped of social expectations, when she is no longer shaped by public applause or personal entanglements, her inner eyes begin to open. She begins to hear in the spirit. She begins to sense divine direction. Revelation starts to flow not from external sources, but from within, where the Spirit of God dwells. This is why some seasons feel like a wilderness, because the wilderness is God's classroom. It is where he teaches her how to listen, not just to sermons, but to his whispers, not just to commands, but to his heart. He reveals purpose. He uncovers the next assignment. He downloads visions that will birth movements, businesses, books, healing, and leadership. Many want the power of revelation without the price of separation. But God cannot speak to a woman who is too entangled with distraction. He waits until she is alone, stripped, surrendered, and still. And then in that divine silence, he reveals mysteries that redefine her life and elevate her purpose beyond anything she imagined. When a woman walks alone, she begins to discover that she is not truly alone. God is walking with her. In the absence of human companionship, divine companionship becomes more real. What she once looked for in others, comfort, strength, wisdom, she now begins to draw directly from a relationship with God. The solitude that once felt like abandonment becomes sacred ground where intimacy with God is deepened. This is the place where she learns to trust his presence more than her feelings and to follow his voice more than her emotions. When a woman walks alone, her dependency shifts. No longer leaning on friends to guide her or relationships to validate her, she begins to develop a spiritual ear. She starts to recognize the whisper of God in her daily life, in decisions, in direction, in the smallest details. She is no longer swayed by the shifting opinions of others because she is anchored in the one who never changes. It is in this walk, this divine companionship, that her confidence grows. Not in herself, but in the God who walks beside her. Many people fear solitude, but this woman has learned to embrace it. It is in the aloneness that her spiritual senses are heightened. She sees with faith. She moves with discernment. She listens with obedience. And because she walks with God, she carries a peace that confuses those who cannot understand her silence. Her pace is steady, not rushed. Her steps are ordered, not random. Her decisions are rooted, not reactive. The woman who walks with God does not need to prove herself. She knows who sent her. She knows who sustains her. She knows who speaks to her in the quiet hours of the night. Her strength is not found in crowds. It is found in communion. And that communion becomes her compass. Purpose is not born in noise. It is born in silence, in moments when a woman is still enough to hear what heaven is saying about her life. When God removes her from the busyness of external demands and places her in a season of stillness, it is because he is birthing something sacred within her. The voices of culture, family, fear, and insecurity can cloud her vision. So God brings her into silence to cleanse the atmosphere around her. Silence becomes her sanctuary. It is there that purpose begins to emerge, not from striving, but from surrender. In the silence, she is not performing, she is not comparing, she is not competing, she is simply listening. And in that listening, she begins to remember who she is and why she was created. God clears the stage, removes the audience, and dims the lights, not to punish her, but to prepare her. Purpose requires focus, and focus cannot survive in a storm of opinions. The silence is not emptiness, it is alignment. It is God adjusting her vision, refining her thoughts, and anchoring her heart to the reason she exists. When she finally stops talking, God starts revealing. When she stops filling the space with noise and distraction, divine instruction flows. Strategies come, insight downloads. Assignments become clear. The dreams that were once vague begin to take shape. The vision becomes sharp. She sees not with her eyes, but with her spirit. And because the silence forced her to slow down, she now moves forward with intention, not impulse. This is why God uses silence as a tool, not to mute her voice, but to amplify his, not to delay her destiny, but to define it. When everything is quiet, purpose speaks the loudest. And when it does, it awakens her like nothing else can. There is a level of authority that cannot be taught. It must be lived through. When a woman walks alone, when she survives the silence, the rejection, the confusion, and the stripping away of everything familiar, something shifts in her spirit. She no longer speaks from theory. She speaks from experience. Her words carry weight because they are forged in pain, processed through prayer, and purified by solitude. God gives authority to the woman who has allowed him to walk her through the valley with no shortcuts, no spectators, and no safety nets. She has been alone with her thoughts, with her disappointments, with her unanswered questions. And yet she has not crumbled. She has not bowed to bitterness. Instead, she has found an unshakable anchor in the presence of God. That anchor has steadied her through the storm. And now when she speaks, hell listens. Her authority does not come from position. It comes from process. It comes from the furnace. It comes from the nights when no one saw her, but heaven was watching. She no longer begs for a platform because she has become the message. Her very life is a testimony of perseverance, faith, and the refining fire of God. She doesn't need to scream to be heard. Her spirit speaks before her mouth does. People listen not because she demands attention, but because she embodies truth. And truth always carries authority. This is the kind of woman God raises in isolation. He didn't just protect her, he prepared her. He didn't just hide her, he healed her. And now when she enters a room, she doesn't bring presence alone, she brings power. Because authority is not given to the loud, but to the obedient. Not to the popular, but to the proven. And she has been proven in the secret place. God does not do deep work in shallow environments. When he begins a transformative process in a woman, he removes her from the surface level distractions of life and draws her into depths that others may never understand. Shallow places are full of noise, busy schedules, superficial relationships, endless demands. But deep work requires stillness, isolation, and surrender. God does not waste energy on surface repairs when he is trying to rebuild a woman from the foundation. And foundations are never laid in public, they are dug in private. When God pulls a woman into a place of aloneness, it is because he is digging into her root system. He is going beneath what people see, beneath the smile, beneath the confidence, beneath the titles. He is reaching into the hidden parts, wounds, fears, insecurities, disappointments, and he is healing them. Not with a quick fix, but with surgical precision. That kind of healing cannot happen in a shallow atmosphere. It takes depth, it takes silence, it takes surrender. This is why she suddenly loses appetite for casual conversation, meaningless connections, and shallow validation. Her spirit is hungry for something more. God is awakening a depth in her that will carry weight, vision, and legacy. She is no longer satisfied with emotional fluff or temporary relief. She is craving truth, strength, and purpose, and God meets her there in the deep. This is the place where identity is restored, calling is confirmed, and strength is multiplied. In the deep, God shows her not just who she is, but who he is within her. He builds her capacity to carry glory, to withstand pressure, and to walk with authority. Shallow environments may entertain, but they cannot transform. Only the deep can shape a woman into who she was always meant to be. So if you find yourself in a season of isolation, silence, or emotional detachment, don't curse it, consecrate it. God does his deepest work in the hidden places, not to punish you, but to prepare you. You are not being overlooked, you are being overhauled. You are not being abandoned, you are being assigned. When God pulls you away, it is because he is setting you apart. He's enlarging your spirit. He is enlarging your spirit. He is not just removing people, he is revealing purpose. You are not just alone. You are being anointed in private for a public assignment that no one else can carry but you. You are the woman who walks with God in silence and speaks with fire in the open. You are the woman who doesn't need noise to know her worth. You are the woman whose confidence comes not from company, but from calling. And when God is finished doing what only he can do in you, you will emerge not broken, not bitter, not needy, not lost, but bold, whole, and unshakable. Because when a woman is alone and she chooses not to crumble, but to cling to God, she becomes unstoppable.